All right, and welcome to another episode of Booking Better. It's Friday, um, 5 o'clock p.m. Today I'm going to be talking about the history of championship wrestling from Florida. If you like videos like this, leave a like and subscribe. Videos uploaded every week. It's probably going to be another short video because um, with Restream you don't get enough storage. So I really can't go over an hour with this. You have to buy extra storage, and I just find that to be fucked up. I hate that. So I gotta keep it short, unfortunately. Instead of pre-recording, I'm gonna have to go live. Um, that way I can go over an hour. If you pre-record, you can't go over an hour, which sucks. All right. Just give me a few minutes. Give me a few minutes here. Let me search here. Yep, there it is. Not only are we going to talk about the history of CWF wrestling, but we're going to talk about Battle of the Belts 2. You get a double header. I think Battle of the Belts 2 is a lot better than Battle of the Belts 1. So, I mean, championship wrestling was associated with the National Wrestling Alliance. They would have weekly television shows based in Florida, hosted by Gordon Soley. It was a staple in southern USA. So eventually in 1987, they closed their doors for good due to financial issues and the national expansion of Vince McMahon's World Wrestling Federation, which sucked. Around around 85, Vince McMahon started to kill the territories. I mean, they had key people like Eddie Graham serving as president, Harley Race, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Hulk Hogan, Barry Windham, Kevin Sullivan, and the Funk brothers, Terry and Dory Funk Jr. So if you type it in, Hogan was part of CWF for a little bit and then he left. You could see some of his wrestling videos on YouTube, wrestling for Championship Wrestling from Florida. So Dusty Rhodes in that territory solidified his babyface turn. There was a last tangle in Tampa featuring NWA champion Harley Race and WWF champion Bob Backlund on the same card. It was very rare, to be honest with you. It was a rare occurrence of interpromotional corporation. You can never really see that on a wrestling card, you know. So Kevin Sullivan was a key player who booked CWF in the 1980s. and he developed the dark side angle in that territory. Usually, the CWF shows would be taped weekly at the Tampa Sportatorium, with full arena shows beginning in the early 80s. That's the way they would do it. Um, I don't even think the Sportatorium down there is still around. I don't know if they tore it down. But Dusty Rhodes had to be one of my favorite wrestlers in the CWF wrestling territory. He was one of the headliners in the CWF territory itself. Barry Windham, he was one of those second generational stars in the territory. He had elite technical ability, just a great athletic wrestler in that promotion. The Briscoe brothers, they were amateur standouts. They brought legitimacy and technical mastery to the CWF wrestling in that area. Wahoo McDaniel, being a former football player, he was a legendary babyface in that territory. I loved his strap matches. I think they were very unique. He had a physical style to his wrestling that I really liked. He made every match feel like a real fight. Um, Kevin Sullivan, he revolutionized the business in the 80s by developing a Prince of Darkness persona. I loved his promos and his Army of Darkness and made him one of the most hated heels in the territory itself. Sir Oliver Humperdinck, he was a premier manager in that territory. He led a dominant heel faction that included the Bruisers, um, Bad Leroy Brown, Nikolai Volkov. He was one of those great heel managers ever in the business. Abdullah the Butcher. He's one of those heel wrestlers to ever grace the ring. He's one of my favorites. Um, Ric Flair, he was an effective heel as world champion. He had an arrogant style to him that contrasts Dusty Rhodes. So I still like watching his matches till this day. I think one of Ric Flair's best matches was against Ricky Steamboat. I still think it's one of the best. Um, so let's talk about Battle of the Belts too. So Battle of the Belts 2. Um, it featured a main event between Ric Flair and Barry Windham. Battle of the Belts 1 featured a main event between Ric Flair and Wahoo McDaniel. I think Battle of the Belts 2 had a better main event than Battle of the Belts 1. Um, a better quality main event than Battle of the Belts 1. I have to be honest. And it's really nothing against Wahoo McDaniel, but I think Barry Windham is a better athlete, in my opinion. So it featured Ric Flair and Barry Windham. A lot of people criticized it because of its Non-finish. The venue was at the Orlando Sports Stadium, hosted by Gordon Solie and Mike Graham. Marked the official debut of the Big Gold Belt. Um, Flair always had solid promos. You know, so Flair versus Wyndham was a classic match, but I hated the finish. I hate non-finishes. Why do you got to do that? It's like I blame the booker for that. Um, Lex Luger versus Jesse Barr for the I think it was for the Florida Championship. Luger's performance was solid during this match. Again, I hated the finish. Bruiser Brody versus Wahoo McDaniel was a wild physical brawl type of match. It was exciting, but it ended too quickly. The finish I hated in that match. Road Warriors and Blackjack Mulligan versus Kevin Sullivan and the Army of Darkness. The whole thing was chaotic. The finish again I hated. Um, Denny Brown versus the White Ninja. Um, he was the White Ninja before he became the Great Muta in the National Wrestling Alliance. I like the White Ninja's mat work. I love his mat work. But what's frustrating about it is it ended in a DQ, and I hated that. What's up with these finishes? I just don't understand. That's fucked up. Um, Kendall Windham versus Prince Waka. This match was weak and terrible. Not a great performance by both wrestlers. I didn't like it. I fell asleep during it. That's how bad it was. Um, Boring. It's really nothing against Kendall Windham or Prince Waka. Um, I think they could have had a better match if they didn't try their hardest to put on a great performance. Tyree Pride versus Ron Slinker for the Bahamian Championship. I just found it to be disjointed. Didn't like it. Wasn't crazy about it. Um, so overall, I rate this event a 9 out of 10. That's a good rating. Um, so like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.